Hello and welcome to this pregnancy yoga class. Today's class is going to be a bit of an all-rounder, and also this class, as requested, will be a longer full-length class. If you have never practiced pregnancy yoga before, I have a free guide and I'll leave that linked below if you want to go and check that one out. This class is suitable for the second and the third trimester, and the reason for that is we are going to build a little bit of heat in the body as we start to prepare the body for birth and for being able to breathe through uncomfortable sensations. And for this reason, it's not suitable for the first trimester unless you've been practicing really strong yoga prior to falling pregnant. But generally during the first trimester, I just recommend you take it easy, you rest as much as you need, because heat in the body will often stir up morning sickness and things like that. And we don't want to make morning sickness any worse than it needs to be. Of course, if anything during this class feels uncomfortable, doesn't feel right in your body, listen to your body. It knows best. Rest and rejoin us when you feel ready. So with that being said, let's get started. We're going to start in our child's pose today. So come on over. So take the knees nice and wide on your mat, reach the arms forward. We've got lots of space here for the belly, and we're just going to settle into our practice here in our child's pose. So rest the forehead down. If you need to make a little bit more space, you can bring two fists and rest the forehead on that. I want you to let the belly be nice and soft, so take a deep breath into the low belly. And as you exhale, soften. I want you to release any tension across the low back. Release the hands. You need to reach them out in front of you and then start to walk them over to the left side. So take the right hand on top of the left. Inhale as if you were stretching up from this hip to the armpit, and then rest the forehead down. You can rest the head on the arm if that feels best. Make sure that there's no belly compression. Your belly is still happily resting between the legs. And then slowly walk those fingertips all the way over to the opposite side. Left hand on top of right this time. Sinking down. Inhale as you come up. Walk the hands back into center. Bring those knees in slightly so that you can come up into your tabletop. So our hands are underneath the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips. As you inhale here, just keep a flat back. And as you exhale, I want you to press into the hands, press into the knees, round through the upper back. Inhale, come back to flat back. And then exhale and round, looking towards the belly, looking towards the thighs, letting the belly be nice and soft. Inhale, come back to your flat back. And exhale and round. All right, come back to your flat back. I'll give you a few options here depending on how you're feeling today. So take the left foot back behind you. We're going to come to a nice calf stretch to start with. Your legs are doing so much more work now that they're carrying a little bit of extra weight, so press into that heel and enjoy that stretch up through the back of that hamstring. I want you to press the top of the right foot into the mat and press the fingertips in strongly as well, so the rest of the body is turned on. All right, now you can stay here if this feels really good and you really just want to stretch today and you don't want to work too hard. If you want to add a little bit of heat, a little bit of power, I want you to shift the weight more fully into that right leg. So press the right knee, the top of the right foot in, lift the left leg up. So keep firmly pressing into both hands, all 10 fingers pressing into the mat. All right, and then release that left knee down. Just take a little rock from side to side. We are going to come back to this side in just a second. And then come back to that weight on that right knee and top of the right foot, both hands pressing in. I want you to this time lift that left foot up as if you're trying to press the foot into the ceiling. We're just going to take a little pulse here. So just like you're trying to do a little footprint on the ceiling, lifting it up. You should feel that left glute working here. I want you to keep breathing, and remember, if this doesn't feel good in your body, take a rest, come back to child's pose. So try not to take the leg out too wide. You should still feel a little bit of inner thigh squeezing together so that the knees are about parallel to the hips. Keep firm through the hands, keep pressing that right foot in. One more here. Well done. Take a little rock from side to side. Let your shoulders be soft. Just take some movements to release out any tension that we created there. All right, and then we're going to shift the weight into that left side as you take the toes of the right foot back. Come into the calf stretch on this side, which feels even better because we've already done a little bit of work on this side. Enjoy that stretch through the hamstring. And then remember, you can stay here, or if you'd like to, press into that left foot, right leg lift. So we're just aiming for parallel at this stage. So try not to lift up too high, try not to keep it too low, just come to about parallel to the ground. Keep breathing, which is usually the biggest challenge, so keep breathing in and out through the nose. Keep the belly a little bit contracted around bub, so our core muscles do turn on a little bit. Keep the shoulders soft, but keep the arms strong. And then release that left knee down and just take a little rock from side to side, releasing any tension, let a little bit of the weight out of the hands. And then we're going to add on and go into that little bit of a glute work here. So again, you don't have to, you can come to that calf stretch, or as if you're trying to press a footprint onto the floor with that right foot. Keep firm through that left side, so top of the left foot, knee presses in, both hands press in. Most importantly, keep breathing. So I often see women during pregnancy who are doing a lot of yoga end up getting quite unstable hips, and you get SI pain, and often weak glutes are one of the reasons for that. Mine included. They just decided to stop working. All the other muscles turned on instead, and I ended up with this imbalance which caused a lot of SI pain. So I found finding exercises that worked my glutes really helped. All right, release that right knee down. Whew. Take a little rock from side to side, let it out, let it go. Notice any tight spots and breathe into them. And then because it feels so good, come back to child's pose with the knees wide. Stretch the arms either out in front or find the fists underneath the forehead again. And just let the hips sink, let the belly be completely soft. Slowly come back up, bring the knees underneath the hips. We're going to take the left arm up towards the sky, moving into our thread the needle because this feels so good on the upper back. Take the arm underneath, the shoulder and the side of the head finds the floor. You can take the other arm up and reach it over if you like, or keep it pressing into the mat. Just find that gentle stretch through the shoulders, through that upper part of the back. Gently pressing in, coming all the way back up and returning it down. Other side, inhale. And exhale, thread the needle, resting the head down. And I want to encourage you to find a space that feels good here. So if you can't feel that stretch through the upper back, you might need to take a leg out as a bit of kickstand and find a little bit more space. So I often find I need to find that little bit more. But if you find that here is really good, but maybe you need to bring the arm back under a little bit because it's too much, then do that. I really want to encourage that you listen to your body and you make adjustments. Your poses don't always have to look like my poses because your body is different and your body is doing a different thing to mine every day. And sometimes we just need to move so that we can find the way that the pose works best for us. All right, slowly come all the way back up, arm to the sky, and then return it down. I want you to walk the hands all the way back, tuck the toes under. So in this class, we are going to work with a few poses that are really designed mostly to work with our mindset and our emotions. And this is about starting to become comfortable being uncomfortable. So yes, this pose is going to stretch into the feet in a way that our feet usually aren't used to. The biggest benefit for you at the moment is the fact that it's going to let you experience an uncomfortable sensation in your body, and we're going to practice breathing through it. So before we do that, release the feet down and just take a seat so that we can practice the breath. So I just want you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose as slowly as you can. So lengthen that out breath as much as you can. In through the nose. Out. And I want you to really focus on that sound of the exhale. So this is where sometimes we exaggerate that sound. We kind of not force the breath, but force the sound a little bit just so that we have something to focus on. I know for me, during my labors, having that sound focus really helped to keep me moving through the contractions in a way that I felt like I was in control, as opposed to feeling like I can't do this. So let's try now with the sensations of the feet. So tuck the toes under and sit back so that the weight is in the heels. If at any time this is too much, please come forward and rest. So if you can, sit back. You might want to bring the hands to the belly, you might want to bring hands to heart. And it gets pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. So start breathing. And I also want you to notice what the mind is saying as you experience these uncomfortable sensations. If you're willing to share in the comments below, please let me know after class. What does your mind say when you feel these sensations in the body? Because chances are what it's saying now with this sensation is what, to a degree, it will say when you're experiencing contractions. They obviously don't feel the same, but we usually react to pain and discomfort in the same way. If you can, keep breathing. Remind yourself you're not dying from this pain. It's just the muscles of your feet stretching in a way that they're not used to. Can you tell yourself just 3 more breaths? Just 2 more breaths. Just 1 more breath. And then release. The feet out and just take some circles. Releasing the toes. Well done. Just take a seat down back on them for a moment. Just move the knees a little bit, releasing any tension through the ankles. Let's come into a kneeling lunge now. So from our tabletop, we step the left leg forward. And I always like to just move around here a little bit and explore any tension first before I settle into my kneeling lunge. So feel free to do that. If you've had any pelvic instability, you will try to keep the knee in rather than moving it out, because that's opening through the pelvis, and we really don't want to do that when we've got instability. So when you're ready to settle, I want you to bring that knee over the ankle And just bring the hands onto that front thigh and gently lean forward so you're feeling that stretch through the front of that right hip. Bring the fingertips back to the ground. Bring the weight into that back knee slightly. Left hand to the mat. And inhale as you move into a twist on this side. So gently pressing down into that left hand and reaching up with the right hand. So we can twist, but we always make it open twist when we're pregnant. And then bring that right hand back down, shift the weight back so that you're sitting back towards that right heel, and we find a forward fold here. So make sure that there's space for the belly, and just gently lean forward so you can feel this beautiful hamstring stretch in this front leg. See if you can soften the shoulders and the neck and the face. This also becomes a good skill for birth because we know if we can relax the upper body, the lower body will follow, which is obviously something we want during birth. And usually when we're stressed, the upper body gets nice and tight. So if you can start to consciously relax into these spaces, it's always a good thing. And then as you inhale, come forward. So into our kneeling lunge again, except this time you're going to roll that foot onto the outer blade, let the knee fall out. So like I said earlier, any pelvic instability, you're skipping this one. Just come back to your kneeling lunge. If it feels good, you could press into that knee and open up through the heart a little bit. See if you can keep the breath steady, the belly soft. And then bring that left hand down, shift the weight back into that back knee. We're going to bring the front foot across as we come into our pigeon pose. So I always found I needed to tuck the foot right into the groin because that made space for my belly coming forward. You can stay up on the hands. You could bring a cushion underneath the arms, that can help. And then just soften the upper body down so that you can let the shoulders relax, let the hips relax. As you inhale, slowly bring the weight all the way back up into that back knee. Come back to that tabletop and the little rock from side to side because it feels so good. And then bring that right leg forward. So kneeling lunge on this side and just getting into the hips first before we settle. So moving around. And then when you're ready, hands onto the leg, just gently leaning forward. And then bringing that right hand down beside the right foot and coming into that open twist, opening it up. See if you can find a position for the head and neck that's comfortable, so we shouldn't feel any strain through the neck here. And then slowly release it down. I want you to bring the weight into that back leg as you come to take a seat all the way back so we can find that forward fold. Take a breath in, make sure there's space for the belly, so you might need to take the knees out a little bit wider from each other, and then gently fold forward. Again, softening into the shoulders, into the neck. It doesn't have to be a full fold. You might be sitting up tall and just drawing the toes back towards you, and that might be enough. And then as you inhale, shift the weight forward, coming into that lizard pose or another kneeling lunge if you've got any hip issues. Let the knee come to the side, roll onto the outer blade. And again, if you want a little bit more, you can press into that knee, open up through the heart. slowly bring that front foot across, tucking it in towards the groin, coming into that pigeon pose. So stretch that leg out behind you. Use the hands to make a little support for the head and soften the body down. All right, and then slowly bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Weight into that back leg as you come all the way back. Take that little rock from side to side once more. And then I want you to center the weight back into the hands and the knees. Again, we're going to lift that left leg up behind us as if we're pressing the foot into the floor, and we're going to add on a little bit this time. So I want you to see if you can reach the right hand forward, and maybe you can reach it around and find that foot with the hand, and then gently press the foot into the hand. If this isn't possible, you can stay here, you can stay here. There are lots of options. You don't have to push yourself. Remember, your body is already doing a lot creating this baby, but if you feel the need for a really beautiful stretch, if this feels good in your body, then come into this one. Keep breathing, and then gently release. Take a little seat back into your child's pose. So you inhale, come up and around, and then exhale, settle back into tabletop. Let's come to the other side. So right foot this time, lifting, again, reaching around or finding any of those options. So it should feel like a beautiful heart opener. Keep the breath smooth and steady. And then gently release. We need to come into our Malasana now. So we're coming up onto the feet. And we're not coming into the full pose straight away. Just like we eased ourselves into the kneeling lunge, we're going to ease ourselves into Malasana. So I like to rock side to side. My feet actually don't like coming all the way down in Malasana. I have to use my hands as counterbalance. So for me to come into Malasana with the hands at heart, my heels have to be up a little bit. You might find the same thing. So it can feel nice to stretch into the hips a little bit first before we ask the body to settle. So just notice any tight spots that you might have. And then I'm going to get to lift the hips up. So get a nice stretch through the hamstrings, and then exhale, come down. And then take a little rock from side to side. Let's do that again. As you inhale, lift the hips up. So we're getting hamstring stretch, forward fold. And then exhale, come down, rock side to side. It's really being comfortable in the body. Noticing any tight spots through the hips. This actually is also really good for digestion. All right, and then when you're ready to, let's start to settle in. So the feet can be a little bit wider than hip distance, but really you just need to make this comfortable for you. So if it's not comfortable, a bolster or a cushion underneath the hips that you can sit on can feel better. Hands come into the heart, the inner thighs will press into the elbows, and the elbows will press into the inner thighs. And then see if you can find some length through the spine. So there's this beautiful stretch going on through the groin and inner thigh. But then there's also the length through the upper body, and there's all of this space for belly. So make sure that you're not compressing the belly at all. And I just want you to breathe here, being conscious of the pelvic floor. So as you inhale, I'm going to let that pelvic floor be soft. And as you exhale, so that the diaphragm lifts up, I want you to engage the pelvic floor like you're lifting those muscles in and up. So we're going to stay here for a few more breaths, just practicing that. So as you inhale and the diaphragm presses down, I want you to relax the pelvic floor, so softening, which is just as important for pregnant women, being able to relax that area, as is being able to strengthen that area. So as you exhale, engage, lift up, and then do a few more with your own breath rhythm. And then bring the hands down floor. I'm going to come to take a seat with our legs out wide. So a wide leg seated forward fold. They can be as wide as mine or in further if that feels better for your body. I'm going to draw the toes back towards you, sit tall, feel the crown of the head lifting. So you should feel a nice stretch through the hamstrings here. If it feels good to you, you can gently lean forward, so increasing that stretch through the hamstrings. Remembering we don't push into any stretches when we're pregnant. That relaxin that's already pumping through our body to relax everything. We just want to honor that and not try and push our body into anything too far, because the body will let you go there at this time. So we just want to feel the stretch and let it feel good, so we're not getting all tight and stiff, but we also don't want to stretch too far. All right, as you inhale, leave the left hand down and take the right hand up and over, so you get a beautiful side stretch. Feeling all of these ribs opening up, making space. Making space for the breath, which can sometimes feel limited, especially when bub is getting bigger. And then bring the hand around behind you, so reaching towards the opposite hip, doesn't matter if it gets there or not. Just look over that shoulder, so a bit of a twist here. And then reach the other hand down, inhale up and over. Bring it around, find that gentle opening. And release, bring the soles of the feet together. Before we come all the way down onto the ground, we're just going to come into our butterfly. So soles of the feet in towards each other, knees gently pressing down. So that might mean the elbows, encourage them to come down. That might mean they already come down and you can gently lean forward. You just need to feel a gentle stretch through the inner thigh here. So moving in a way that makes that happen for you. Let the upper body be soft. You can bring pelvic floor awareness here as well. So continuing that inhaling and relaxing, exhaling and engaging. And often a lot of the pelvic floor work is actually mind-body awareness. So really getting our mind connected with that breath and with that movement, which will be important to know after you have your baby, because often that mind-body connection is a little bit missing after. So focusing on pelvic floor awareness is a really good way to start in recovery, even just a few days after you have your baby. Just not doing any tight contractions, just noticing that you can lift and release that area of your body is really important. Sitting up tall, we're ready to come all the way down. We're going to come onto the side and work with the legs a little bit here. So I want you to bring the hand to support the head, and I want you to notice that the shoulders and the hips and the feet are in line. So the knees are slightly forward, and that will give you balance so that you're not falling forwards and back. So I want you to keep the toes together, and as you inhale, you're going to open up, and you should feel this glute working as you do this, and the muscles around the hips and the pelvis. So this is again also working to keep that pelvis nice and supported. So try and keep the hips relatively stacked so that lower belly will be turned on a little bit to do that. You can always keep the arm in front as well if you need to for balance. And just breathing and moving nice and slowly. Releasing, bringing that foot into the hand and getting a nice quad stretch here. So just gently pull that knee back in line with the body. Also feels good through this hip here as well. And then if you release the leg out long, draw the knee back into the chest, and I want you to reach towards either the shin, or if you can reach the foot, and just gently see if you can open up this leg here a little bit. So stretching through the leg, but also stretching through the hip. So if you pull that foot, almost like you're pulling the knee into the armpit. Now, obviously I'm fairly flexible. You might not be able to do quite as much as this. You might be here, but that's still great. And this is also, good to note, a great side-lying birth position because there's no pressure on the sacrum. The sacrum is able to move, which is something that we want to happen during birth so that bub can find their way through the pelvis. And it's also a great position if you've had an epidural. You can be side-lying during birth as well. So just file that in the memory bank somewhere in case you need it during birth. And it's also a good way to obviously open up the pelvis and make space here as you prepare for birth. All right, let's come to the opposite side. You're welcome to just roll over, obviously not putting any compression on belly, but I'm gonna do this way so that I'm not facing back. You're not looking at the back of my head as we move through the same set of sequence on the opposite side. So coming into those clams again, so hips and shoulders aligned, make sure you feel stable in the body, and then just start gently opening up. So you should feel the glutes working, maybe even a little bit into the inner thigh. Keep breathing. Try and think about the muscle that you're targeting. So again, this whole mind-body connection is really important. And the more you can think about what you're targeting, the better work that you'll do rather than letting the mind just wander to what you're doing for the rest of the day. All right, last one here. And then reach towards that foot and draw the knee back in line, getting that beautiful stretch through the hip, through the quad. And then straighten the leg out long, just so that you can draw the knee in and then either find the shin or the sole of the foot and then draw that knee in towards the armpit. Maybe straightening up the leg if that feels nice, stretching into the hamstring a bit as well. Just exploring how this feels. So one of the good things about pregnancy yoga as well is it gets us really comfortable in our body. Like, this is not a normal thing to be doing in any other part of our life, but being really aware and conscious of what feels good in your body, what positions feel good in your body is really helpful when you're going into birth, because usually I just want to be able to be free to move instinctually during birth and not feel like, oh, I'm not comfortable in this position, or I just don't feel good here because it's so unfamiliar. So getting really comfortable in our body is such a good thing when we're pregnant. All right, release that leg down. We're going to come into our Shavasana now. So if you are comfortable on the side, feel free just to lie down. You might get some pillows underneath the belly, between the knees if that feels good. Just let yourself sink and soften. Let everything relax into the mat. Remind yourself that now is the time to relax and let go. And let your awareness just follow the breath, inhaling and exhaling. And letting the whole body consciously relax. All the way from the crown of the head down to the toes. Everything is soft, relaxed. Slow down the thoughts as well if you still find that they're racing. See if you can bring the awareness to the body instead, perhaps noticing just the gentle rise and fall of the belly, the chest with each breath. And perhaps you stay aware of how your body connects with the floor. And perhaps you stay aware of that feeling of baby moving within you, as they tend to start doing as soon as we're still. And just stay mindful and present to where you are in space and time. I am here relaxing on my mat, breathing, softening, and letting go. And the mind will probably want to take you on an adventure, distract you with all the things. See if instead you can give yourself these few moments of peace just by being present and aware of yourself resting in this space. Just slowly return, let the eyes flutter open first. Become aware of the room that you're in. And then when you're ready, take your time, small movements, slowly coming back up. And bring the hands to heart. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. It really is an honor to be able to connect with you wherever you are in the world. If you have got this far, I would love to know where you are in the world, so please leave me a comment below and please reach out when your beautiful baby is born, because I love to finally meet those little people who've been practicing with us all along as well. Thanks again for being here, and namaste.